If you're focusing on fitness of the body without having a fit mind, then there is no real fitness of the body.
These are invisible things that you cannot measure, but they really set something with your nervous system, which makes you feel safe and calm.
We don't force you to calm down. We don't tell you to calm down. The nature and the food together, the atmosphere takes you to a place and you're like, oh wow, this was a very good break from the city life.
Wellness today is no longer about trends or quick fixes. It's about how space, light, sound, and structure quietly shape how we heal, think, and live.
The structure starts with organizing your room, organizing your fridge. The minute you have to set things up every day and have decision fatigue, you end up not making any decision at all.
You can't possibly hope to feel better, to heal better, if you don't feel safe and calm. When a person walks inside, what we wanted was them to feel that safe feeling. Walk around with a deep sigh like, yeah, this is the space that I want to be in.
If I'm gonna be serving natural, organic, healthy food, you need to be eating in an environment like that so that all your senses is activated, then organically you calm down. People post these photos where there is like one little flower growing between the concrete because you can't stop nature. Nature wants to grow.
Everybody that sleeps better will all of a sudden have much less anxiety, will have more focus, will make better decisions, will have less decision fatigue.
It's important for us to show them the right path of healing. It starts from a great environment, a place that they feel that they can heal themselves.
This episode changes the way you think about wellness, not as a habit, but as a design decision, one that quietly defines how you live today and who you become tomorrow. This is Beyond the Surface.
Welcome to Beyond the Surface by Design Studio by Huzaifa. Today we are talking about wellness and interiors, how luxury and choices can help a room that makes you breathe better, recover faster, and feel calm. Not trends, but real design choices that can change our daily lives. We've got three amazing guests to help us on this topic. Tracy Harmouche is with us today, an entrepreneur, a speaker, and the founder of Untraceable, a self-optimization platform built around one mission: helping people take back control of their bodies, their mindset and habits through real discipline and real science. She's also the co-founder of UA-born premium ice cream brand, Mama Boozer, and the host of What They Don't Tell Us podcast. Also on the sofa today, we've got Dr. Shani Laju, who is the group CEO at Medcare Hospitals and Medical Centers and the leader behind Wealth, a holistic clinic approach that blends traditional and modern therapies. And joining us today, we're delighted to have Eda Gunga, who is the co-founder of Sever Experience. This is a calm, nature-rich space for yoga, meditation, a holistic clinic, and plant-based cafe designed to help you slow down from the moment you arrive. Thank you all so much for being with us today. I have got so much to ask you, and I feel like it's such a pertinent time right now. We're seeing people live longer, but we also want people to live better. It's not just about lifespan, it's about health span. And I would love this conversation to have some real takeaways that people who don't work in the wellness space can be incorporating into their lives, tips, medical advice, and also the importance of how our environment can shape how we feel about ourselves and feel hopeful about the future. I would love to start, if it's all right with you, Tracy, a little bit about your why, because you have many pillars in place when it comes to wellness. Obviously incorporating technology, we're going to be talking about food, but I wondered when we think about how we interact with our environment, things that we do from the moment we wake up, what do you have in your home? What are intentional choices about your environment to get you in the right mindset for living your best life?
So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. And I love this conversation, actually. It's good I'm having it with you guys because my husband's like over me, by the way. He's like, I'm done having this conversation at home, but it's very important. And I joke, but the structure is very important. How you live, how you wake up, what your surrounding is so important. To live in between boxes, not being organized, that is chaos, right? So if you're focusing on fitness of the body without having a fit mind, then there is no real fitness of the body. Let's just put it that way. You really have to have this kind of calm and structure in your life, at least the way I see it. The first thing I tell people when they feel chaos, right? Or when they feel unorganized, especially people that come to me on my program, they're like, listen, I don't know where to start. And my body, my life is all over the place. Everything is on autopilot. I'm in and out of work all the time. I don't have time to cook. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this.
Lack of control.
Lack of control. Your time is as it's as available as what your priority is, right? And if your priority is really to grow, then you have to set up the structure for it. And the structure starts with organizing your room, organizing your fridge. I honestly don't take organization lightly. The first thing I tell my men and women on the program is you want to start with organizing your fridge. Throw everything out that you're not going to, and don't even throw it out. Put it in a box, give it to charity. Someone will make use of it. But if you don't start with a clean slate, when you're hesitant about things, when you're feeling overwhelmed, organize a closet. Like, I honestly think organization is one of the key pillars at the very beginning to get things rolling for you.
I think it's about removing those friction points, that if there is that, whether it is a food temptation, or maybe it's about something as simple as organizing your wardrobe so you know what you're going to wear the next day. Your mind isn't as cluttered.
If you're not able to focus, organize your desk. Have a place where you can go and sit and work and feel, now I can get things done. The minute you have to set things up every day or look for things every day and have decision fatigue, you end up not making any decision at all.
And making life, I guess, as easy as possible.
For example, I have a meditation corner. If I didn't set that corner up, I'd probably procrastinate meditating. But it's so enticing to meditate now that I'm like, first thing in the morning, I want to sit right there and I want to meditate. You know, you just have to set yourself up for success and remove all the friction points in between.
So that's at home. And then we're kind of talking about spaces that people are lucky enough to go to for even that next level. Obviously, with Seba, tell us about the origin, because I think of you as being one of the real pioneers when it comes to holistic wellness in the region. It's been over a decade now, so a real testament to the appetite for that and how much people are leaning into it. But you were a bit groundbreaking when it did open back in the day. What was your why and what gap did you recognize in the region?
Yeah, to be honest, very simply speaking, Sewa was the place that I needed in life, because this whole culture of after work just going for a drink, you know, it just didn't fit me. I really needed to be able to talk to people about what is happening in my life, literally, honestly talking. And I needed support because before that I was working, let's say, in very interesting spaces where things weren't flowing, and it was surprising for me. I'm like, why nobody's liking each other in these workplaces? Why there is this much ambition? It was just never me. And I wasn't able to find people to talk about these things. And then when I was interested in certain holistic wellness related things, this is like 15 years ago, nobody was interested in. Then I was like, okay, there must be a place that there must be people like me. And I remember I found Jay Shetty so many years ago. He wasn't Jay Shetty. And I was like, oh my God, there are people like me. Like, he talks to me. And then I just wanted to start a place where I said, people who are looking for things like me will come. And we will be able to talk about things.
And what you've created really is this idea of, yes, coming there and doing a class or doing a workshop, having access to local and international experts. But it's also become a community. And I wonder, when you were looking for a space, especially in such a big city like Dubai, what were your non-negotiables about the environment that you wanted to create? I mean, obviously there's the location, but the feel.
So the truth is, I didn't live in Dubai before this. I came for this to Dubai. So everybody said something, and for every neighborhood was important for somebody. And I was just meditating and asking, where should I be going? Like, there were a lot of hype about Business Bay 12, 13 years ago, open it in Business Bay. But when I meditate, I was seeing Jumeirah. And this is how I ended up in Jumeirah, like driving around and all. And to be honest, we found this villa on the Bizzle. It's not a joke. And there was garbage in the back where there is a cafe now in the garden. And I was like, and when I looked at it, I said, oh my God, we can have a garden. Like, it wasn't set stone, the things that I wanted to do. I was allowing life to show me, and the city's energy to show me what's the next step. And yeah, we aligned.
I would love to talk about how environment can heal us, because as I said, we sometimes underestimate that. And yes, we need to have the pillars in place, and we are going to talk about nutrition and sleep and actually how environment can inform sleep as well. When we think about when someone is coming to a clinic in sickness, or indeed in optimization, with wealth in particular, Dr. Shani, which is so focused on bringing together some of the most amazing experts in the region and helping people really invest in how they feel physically and mentally. What was on your wish list? What was on your brief when you started talking to designers and interior architects about creating a space that is going to really help people leverage that?
So, we have been in the medical field for the last, when you look at it, Astra, which is our parent company, it's been there almost 38 years. And as Medcare, we started almost 18 years back. So it was most of treating the sick people, how do you heal the people? Actually, the idea of wealth came post-COVID. So, with COVID, I think a lot of the people have started taking care of themselves. It's not like, do you go to the hospital when you're sick? No. How do you find the root cause of your problems? How do you stay healthy? Like you said, everybody wants to live long, but just living long isn't enough. Living healthy is most important. So, when our MD, Alicia Mupin, she came up with the idea, why don't we start a wellness center? Because we need a place for people to come and see what is their problems rather than just go to a hospital and treat when they're sick. So that's how when we started looking at the idea of having this wealth. Now, as you rightly said, when we are moving from a medical to a wellness area, it's very important. It's the look and feel is the most important thing. Like when a person walks inside, what we wanted was them to feel that safe feel, to have a calm, or probably walk around with a deep sigh like, yeah, this is the space that I want to be in. So it was very important that we had to look at a lot of areas, like when we say natural light, everybody talks about health. When you wake up, get 10 minutes of sunlight, it resets your circadian rhythm. So keeping those in mind, we knew that lighting was a very important factor, to have those warm lights, to make people feel comfortable, not those bright flickering lights where you feel. So people are investing to come into a place where they want to feel safe and calm. So I think lighting, sounds, so again, no sound at all keeps you very sterile. You don't want to be in a place and you don't want to be in a place which is very loud as well. So again, in a wellness, we want to have those sounds that can actually regulate your nervous system. People feel calm inside. So I think lighting, sound has been one of, so when we say that, we have our sensory organs, the 5 sensory organs have to be triggered. That's what we kept in mind. So these are invisible things that you cannot measure, but they really set something with your nervous system, which makes it feel safe and calm. So that's what was the most important thing that we had.
I love the idea of someone coming into a space, and it can be home or a clinical setting, or indeed somewhere that feels like a third space, and their shoulders just dropping, their heart slowing down a little bit and feeling optimistic. You can't possibly hope to feel better, to heal better, if you don't feel safe and calm. This idea of intentions. And when people do come to you and they go, I am out of control, I don't know where to start. What are some of the common pain points you're hearing from people right now with their wellness in mind?
I think the biggest issue that people face is that they're confused. They're bombarded with health advice from every fitness influencer, every doctor, every quick fix, every hack, and they're confused. So they're not told necessarily what works, but they're told what would go viral, right? What would be a quick fix, and that just it bothers people. And I think I was there at some point when I decided to take research into health and wellness into my own hands, because even going into doctor advice, and I'm sure you know this, maybe in the medical field, even doctors wearing white coats, in many cases you ask them something and then they don't first resort to your nutrition. They don't ask you, what are you eating? So unless doctors as well, and I've heard this time and time again with doctors on my podcast saying, I had to learn on my own nutrition and wellness because they never taught us any of this in medical school.
And then you throw in women's health and we think about the nuances in that.
Exactly. So imagine somebody going to a doctor, the doctor not able to help them, not giving them the basics, giving them medication instead of telling them how to prevent or to fix their lifestyle and their nutrition before thinking about getting on medication.
But that doesn't sell.
You're right. So this is the problem that people are facing, that well, unfortunately, they're resorting to people like me who have taken the time to read all the experts' advice and the research, showing them in books I'm reading, saying, guys, these are the experts that I trust, that are not funded by big pharma or big food. And this has worked on 5,000 people so far, 5,500 I've had on my program, because it's honestly not rocket science, it's basics.
Here.
They want to confuse you. They want to make it seem like it's easy. But I always say this, that the hard way is the easy way. It's the only way. do the proper thing, focus on your nutrition, focus on your mindset, on your mental calm. Any quick fix that comes along the way because you think it's going to get you your results faster is only going to set you back that much more. And in due course, you'll end up doing it on and off for a year or 2 years, and it will mess worse with your confidence and your mindset because you feel you're failing at everything. If you did it right the first time round with the right advice, then it is hard, yes, but you would get there much sooner rather than later. And then you build your confidence, you build your mindset, you understand what you're doing. You have an educated approach.
And I also think it's about listening to our bodies as well. This idea of what I could have bloods done. I could see someone who's got similar issues or symptoms to me and they do this, but why doesn't it work for me?
But do you know why people can't really listen to their bodies as much as they used to before? Because our bodies don't work anymore. We are bombarded with such garbage that your hunger cues and your fullness cues stop working. Your insulin confuses you. So you don't know what's happening in your body. You think that I have to listen, I need to eat that sugar, but you don't really need to eat the sugar right now. You don't need the carbs right now. But your body stops working because we're feeding ourselves such terrible things that it's creating this, I'm not full yet. Keep feeding me, keep feeding me. If we just go back to basics, eliminate inflammatory things for the time being, allow your hormones to work again. Let those fullness and hunger cues work again. And then say, okay, cool. Now I understand what it feels like to be full. I understand what it feels like to really crave or to really need to eat. People are eating just because they're bored now or because of anxiety. So it's hard to say, let's listen to our bodies. Our bodies are not working as much as they used to when we're in an environment that's so chaotic and we're not taking initiative to take a step back and try to listen.
We're very quick to distract ourselves from discomfort in modern life. And when we think about, as I said, this idea of self-investment, of booking into a class, of turning towards an expert. When you've been building that community at Seva, tell us a little bit about what you've seen people really go through to get to their true selves.
Everybody knows that we have to meditate, but also that creates an extra stress to people because they don't know how to meditate. Nobody's talking about that there are stages. You need to start from somewhere in the beginning, like, going to your grandmother's attic and start brushing sweeping the place. The dust is going to be out first. It's not going to work. So everybody wants a quick fix, and meditation is not a quick fix. It will never be. The longer the years that you invest in yourself and meditation, you just get more benefit.
That's why it's called a practice.
Exactly. And when people generally come to Seva, they're looking for something. They're in a different place maybe in life, but they're looking for something. Some of them comes when they're desperate. Some of them comes because they're not satisfied. Some of them comes because maybe they didn't belong to anywhere yet in the city. Maybe they are new. And when they come, my personal aim always is to find ways to empower people. Because also all these stimulants and the social media and everything is constantly telling you, you're not enough, you're not good enough, you don't know enough, you have to do more, you have to learn more, you have to invest more. I believe people need to hear that, no, you can do it. You can do it what you have sometimes. It's not that, oh, you've done that course and that course is not enough. Look, I have done 11 of them, you need to do 10 more. This is never going to help anybody. You're constantly putting on the person that whatever you are doing is just never enough. And then they are in that race. I always tell people, especially when I'm teaching, I tell them, if you're going to a teacher which says that you're not ready, I'm so sorry, it's not the right person. You ended up here, you are ready, and maybe it's today we change that mindset. Like this has to be given to, I think, everybody because we need to empower people. And that's my personal aim with everybody who walks in from the door, to be honest.
I think it's also this idea of being in a place where you do feel relaxed. When we think about the environment of where we eat, and you mentioned there the garden that you have, which is just this beautiful oasis. Tell us about how intentional you've been about where we eat food, which sounds like such a basic.
I mean, when I came to Dubai, like I said, more than 12 years ago, there wasn't much of a cafe culture. It was restaurants or, other things. And in my reality, in Mediterranean, cafes are important because that's where people gather again. Like people get around food. It's very important in my culture that you all sit around dinner table, everybody shares everything or breakfast. And I don't know, like in our summer houses or anything, it's like things were always green. And I wanted to give that summer house, Mediterranean summer house feeling to people. not knowing that if they are going to grow in the desert or not. I just believed that they were going to grow. Everybody told me it's never going to happen. Everybody was like, this next summer, you're going to lose everything. And to be honest, in that garden, nothing died. Nothing ever died. Everything survived. Every summer, we figured it out because you can't stop nature. Nature wants to grow. That's why the people post these photos where there is like one little, tiny bit flower is growing between the concrete, because nature figures out and then wants to grow. And for me, that is the first thing. If I'm gonna be serving natural, organic, healthy food, you need to be eating in an environment like that so that all your senses, like you said, is activated, and then organically you calm down. We don't force you to calm down. We don't tell you to calm down. The nature and the food together, the atmosphere, environment takes you to a place and you're like, oh, wow, I did have my break. This was a very good break from the city life.
And also, and I'm guilty of it, this idea of being mindful about not just what we're eating, but how we're eating. Tasting, appreciating that has maybe been grown in the garden, or that there's been a chef in the kitchen who has been really thoughtful about how those flavors go together, and actually just tasting. Because so many of us, self included, we rush our food, we dine al desco at the office, we'll look down at a plate and go, I don't even remember eating that. And when we think about the impact that has on our body, Dr. Shani, when we think about about absorption, about satiety, this slowing down, what does the science say about looking out of a window of a hospital room, for example, or about incorporation of natural elements and what that does to our body and how it heals?
Earlier, when we were designing hospitals, it was just, how do you treat the sick people? There was no awareness, to be honest. But I think of late, there is so many awareness that are being created about health and how the nature heals you. How it's very important for you to heal faster when you're in a great surrounding, a safe place. Like so what Tracy was saying, there's so many influencers, there's something on TikTok. So people are confused. So for us as medical professions, it's important for us to show them the right path of healing. And to show that, I think it starts from a great environment, a place that they feel that they can heal themselves. So when we started Wealth, as I told you, it was more about how can we incorporate more of the nature inside. And like what you rightly said, being in a summer place where the summers are really bad. So we wanted that green look. We wanted that natural look. So from outside, when people enter itself, we wanted them to have that feeling that they're entering somewhere where it is like connected to nature, where they feel that, their mind and the body can be reset in this place. So that's the whole concept when we had that. And like when we say about a lot of things about the brain, they say is the most important, but your second brain is your gut now. So it is important, like what Tracy said, inflammation. People do not know. So here they are just following a lot of the social media trends that they're seeing. But for each one, it's a different trait. You cannot have the same rule for everyone. Everybody is different. Your mind is different. So how will you make sure that you're getting the right sort of nutrition advice? So here what we wanted was like a one-stop shop for your wellness needs. So it was combining functional medicine, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Chinese medicine, acupuncture. So a lot of those things that are correlating to wellness, because again, as I told you, it's different for different people. So you do not know whether maybe Ayurveda is better for you to do that healing. So we analyze the people. We want to make sure that when they come in, they go back. It's not like, oh yes, yeah, I'm feeling much better now. No, it's a slow process and people have to be patient about it. That's one thing we say, because in this life when we're living, it's a lot of stress. We're being so mechanical. It's like you get up in the morning, you have your whole routine. But it's again, how do you make sure that you do things in a way that you heal your mind? So this is where everything is. So healing your mind resets your body.
I think that takes us to sleep very nicely, which I love talking about, because when we're thinking about the pillars of health, and I've spoken to thousands of experts over the years, from psychologists, sleep experts, medical doctors, fitness trainers, it goes on. And it does come back to basics. So much of it comes back to breath work, avoiding mouth breathing. It comes to that environment. And I wonder, Tracy, when you're talking to people about sleep, is that something that people underestimate when it comes to recovery?
You have no idea. I mean, just to get back on your point, doctor, when you were saying that everybody's different. Absolutely, everybody's different when we are exposed to what we are exposed now. So anything that's inflammatory, or any like the mental aspect of things, you might handle things differently than I do. But I believe that, I mean, humans have been around for millions of years. We know how to function as a one size fits all when everything, all the dopamine is not around. We are actually a one size fits all in the basics. But as you introduce inflammatory things, then you have to start being very cautious. So sleep, for example, it's a one size fits all. Everybody that sleeps better will all of a sudden have much less anxiety, will have more focus, will make better decisions, will have less decision fatigue. It's a one size fits all. I don't know anybody that sleeps that says, no, that wasn't a good idea. I'm going to go back to 4 hours and sleep. The same thing goes with light exposure, circadian rhythm. Have some sunlight in your eyes. The minute you do that, especially for women, in 14 hours on the clock, you'll be tired at night, melatonin will come out. It is a one size fits all. So anything natural is a one size fits all. And if we just focus on what works for all of us collectively as humans, do them, and then go about and say, but this is not working, that is not working. And when you want to introduce inflammatory foods in your life, like I love ice cream. I have an ice cream brand, but I will introduce it at the right time. I'm very intentional about it. So I do eat the way I need to eat most of the time when I want to feel my best. And when I don't really care and I'm lounging and I'm watching a show, I have people over, I will introduce it knowing intentionally that I'm probably not going to feel my best after, and I know what to do the next day. And as long as we have control over those things, that's what matters. So yes, sleep, it's not a choice anymore. It's a necessity of life.
So Helen, I just wanted to talk about this. I was recently in Korea for a conference, and they've developed these AI tools. And one of them is for better sleep. So from the time you enter your bedroom, how it resets the lighting, the sound, the mood.
I have that from 5 p.m. Everything resets into sunset colors.
Yes.
So that you don't have any junk light. They call it junk light, like junk food.
When you put your alarm into that particular time, again, it resets. And I was like, I really want to have this inside because it opens your curtains and shows you something which in nature. It comes like a nature that pictures that with a calm. So it's based. And then when you open that again, it's sunlight. So it's again resetting your circadian rhythm so I think there are AI tools that are coming into the market to help you sleep better and feel better.
Which is ironic because every sleep expert I speak to, like, get your phone out of the bedroom. There are something called alarm clocks, Helen, that means you don't need your phone. But to my mind, it's like, what is the gold standard of that sleep environment? And for me, my husband can sleep anywhere. He is that guy that will get on a plane and go, I'm going to sleep now. And he closes his eyes and I sit there hating him for 8 hours. Whereas, in our room, and I need the blackout blinds, I have a weighted blanket, I take magnesium, I am, little miss tick, tick, tick. And I'm blessed that I am actually a pretty good sleeper as a result of that. But for a lot of people, that environment is so off. It's watching TV in bed. I wear socks in bed because someone once told me that warm feet and cold face works. It's not attractive, but it works. But for anyone that is really struggling with sleep, do you guys have any absolute go-tos, whether that's things you do or places you are during the day? Does the daytime impact the nighttime ever when you're thinking about how you sleep and rest and recover?
Yes, I mean, when you think about it in yogic science, they were always teaching these. For example, they say if you are combing your hair to the opposite direction before you sleep for 1 minute, it just helps all the meridians and the nervous system. And they're like little tricks, or like instead of taking magnesium, you can put the magnesium oil under your feet kind of things, or like the lavender oil on the bed. And but it is the most important thing. If somebody is sleeping 8 good hours a day, a lot of problems just disappear from their life.
But even more than the sleeping long hours, it's sleeping deep. So even if you're going to sleep 5 hours, but you know how to go deep, different story altogether. And if you just want basic remedies of sleeping, around sunset, follow the light of the sunset. What does it look like? It's red, orange. There's a reason for that. It's because it's not meant to be blue sky, bright light. So allow the lights in your house to have the exact same color palette. I have everything, like outside lights. I have different kind of projectors around my house that give me the sunset look so that I don't have to use any of the light bulbs in my house. And everything is like, it calms down from then on. Lights are off, but those accent lights are on. We have red light blockers at home. So if the TV is a bit far from the science I'm reading, it's not that big of a deal. But as you're scrolling through your phone and it's right in your face, it's blue light, like the skylight. So your body assumes that you're awake. It's daytime. It's not going to allow you to go to bed. And when that is in your face, it's as bad as eating late. It's like they call it junk light for a reason. What needs to happen is melatonin needs to come out. And as soon as you're digesting or as you're consuming junk light, melatonin does not come out. We produce melatonin. We don't need to take the supplements. Allow it to come out, and if it does come out, all of a sudden you're going to be tired, you sleep, you wake up, you have less anxiety. It all is like one little, circuit.
To me, it's food. If I've slept badly, the decisions I make with food the next day are a disaster.
Exactly.
I'm like, quick energy bites. I need this. I've got to get through the day.
In Ayurveda, there's a thumb rule that you don't eat after sunset. It doesn't digest completely.
100%. But at least if you allow yourself 80% of your time doing it right, then have a social life 20% of the time. But every night, for no reason, when you have work the next day, you're going to munch till 10 p.m.
Yeah, like meditation, people need to realize that everything needs to be phased in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And moderate. If it feels intimidating or it's going to induce guilt because you didn't do it, it's going to have the opposite.
Yeah, but I think it's most important, like at least we're making an effort. I think this generation makes an effort, but the new generation, the millennials and Gen Zs, they're all late night people. And this online ordering of food has become so common. Like even if you have food at home, oh, what's it? Oh, can I order from outside? And they sit late nights, I mean, I have Gen Zs and millennials home and I'm worried about their health because they sit till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock and they start ordering food, eating. So I think it's very important to create that sort of an awareness, especially in the generations to come.
They don't feel it. Like in our age, I'm 39 now. Now I want, like, I need to feel good every day. I need to perform at work. I need to perform at the gym. And if I don't, it's just not worth it, right? For them, unless they're in the situation where they need to care, most likely they're not going to care.
Spreading that awareness is very important because continuously.
Exactly.
It's not like you just say once because they just need to get that into their head because
it has to be personal.
There will be a certain stage in your life when you feel that, yes, I want this for myself.
You see this in Gen Zs that are in sports on their own. My friends have kids, they're all in football. They're like, Mom, I want to eat something healthy. I'm like, she's 9. I would never say that when I was 9. I'm like, where's the cupcake? This is how I was when I was a kid. She's like, well, I want to eat something healthy. I want to perform in sports tomorrow. I need protein. I'm like, how do they know this? Yeah. And it's an education thing. The teachers are teaching them. The coaches are teaching them. So it's a great thing when you need to implement it on yourself. But that's how, like you said something about focus, which is so important. They tell you focus. Our parents used to say, go focus. You're like, how? Can you suddenly have?
Like, stop thinking about it.
Exactly.
Leave that behind. I'm like,
exactly.
What does leave everything behind in a split second?
Exactly. But what if you told your kid, like, listen, I know you're struggling in school or you're struggling to focus on your exams. You know what helps with focus? If you eat this way, if you don't eat before you sleep, you're going to get so much better at school.
And this is simple education. Exactly. And at the moment, everybody needs education in everything. If you are always writing 2 letters a day, swapping the one at night with forgiveness letter works really well for your subconscious. So that in the morning, the gratitude sets the tone. So you leave home and everything ready and taking that the power of the gratitude with you. And when you are, before you go to sleep, if it's a forgiveness letter, and if you forgive everything that didn't work out for you that day, or if they weren't aligned with your intentions, and leaving that behind and going to sleep also works greatly.
So maybe like now we have this gratitude journaling, which I also do. But as a child also, many years back, what my dad used to teach me was the same thing, but maybe not writing it down. He used to tell me, reflect on your day to day. Have you done anything wrong? Forgive all the people, forgive. So this has been a practice that we've been. And now, of course, putting it down in a journal helps you even better. That's how I train my children because that's been such a blessing in my life. As I grew up, I knew that, you have to forgive people. You have to be thankful for all that you have in your life. And even as my children grew up, I made sure that they reflect on the day that day.
For my children, my eldest, we go for sacral cranial therapy and she absolutely loves it. This idea of calming the nervous system. I think our kids right now their schedules are so overpacked. Academic pressures, after school activities, having friends, coming home and being like very on for their parents because they don't want to disappoint them. And for her to have somewhere that she goes, which is very sensory, there's a garden there. She goes in and there's some sound healing bowls that she plays with, and she chooses a scent that she wants on that, and she talks to the therapist about what's happening in her body, about energy flow, but she also talks about friendship things. And she has someone that she can talk to that isn't me or her dad or a teacher. And I just feel really grateful that she's accepted that. Are you seeing more younger people coming into this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, it has its own challenges, but definitely the new generation, Gen Z, is way more into their yoga and meditation, and especially sound healing and getting trainings very fast. Of course, they are also a generation who just gets the training to teach immediately. So I also see that, but it's amazing because they are very aware. They know what they want. They know where to go. Their commitments are less, but interest is more.
Dr. Shani, for so many people, meditation feels inaccessible and something that other people do. And I wondered how you're bridging that gap for people that have maybe never done it before. Are you bringing in experts? Is there technology at play at Wealth? What's happening?
It's a great question because, it's very difficult to meditate. Helen, it took me 2 years to actually meditate for 10 minutes without actually going into any other different thoughts. Honestly, every time I used to meditate, I used to think about everything else possible but the meditation. And then you do guided meditation. It helped you a little bit better because you're hearing the sounds. So we knew that we had to help people because it's very difficult. One of the most difficult part is to have that concentration and meditate completely. So we got these meditation pods. So you have this huge pod where you put your head inside and it closes. And then you have your headphones and you have this either music. If people are used to a meditation at one stage, they can have that soft music so that they can meditate. Otherwise, there's a guided meditation. So, our functional medicine doctors, the Ayurveda doctors, when they say that, when you need to calm down, of course, we have to do a certain blood test to understand the hormones as well. Because if you really want to help people, because see, even for me, when I did my hormone analysis, I was I didn't know that my cortisol level was up the roof. For me, again, it helped me because once I know that, okay, this is a problem because I used to feel fatigued. So again, meditation was something which helped me calm. Of course, I had to take some of the supplements as well because it was a super high level. So to help people get into that meditation, I think such things like the pods do help, for beginners. At least they know what it is. They can feel what that is. So this is something which we help the people to go into. And I think over a period of time, it just makes the person feel so relaxed. And, it actually triggers your nervous system. The neurons in your brains are, actually triggered and you feel calm.
I think I'm a big believer that you can't improve what you don't measure. And I think there's a balance between having information. So I had my bloods done recently and I realized that I was low on iron, as many women are, vitamin D, as many people in the UAE have a deficiency. And that's something that I can measure and I can address. I do think there can be an over-reliance on data and not listening to our bodies because our watch might tell us that we're tired and we actually feel fine. And I know that's something that you're navigating with the app, Tracy. And I wondered if you could maybe demystify a little bit about how the app works and how it's removing some of those pain points in accountability, listening to our bodies, actually taking back some control. How does it work?
So everyone that joins my app has to start with watching and learning and understanding why things are happening. I don't believe telling people information on its own is enough. They really need to understand why your body has been reacting this way, why cortisol is spiking, why should you not have coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach? Why do you have to put your phone down before? Like, if you just tell people do it, most of the time they're like, but it's not good enough reason, so no. So in the app, I go through an entire tutorial explaining every single point, why, and how it will make you feel after, and what is the science-backed research that shows why. So when you go through that entire tutorial, by the end of it, when you're given the tools and the non-negotiables you're supposed to do for week 1, 2, 3, 4, you do it with intention and you do it gladly because you're like, okay, I know exactly how I'm going to feel on the back of it. So I think the education part is the most important thing. And this is what the primary thing is on the app. Anybody can give you a workout program. Anybody can give you a nutrition guide. You can get that anywhere. You can go to ChatGPT, they'll give you one. But if you understand the why and the education and have a community behind you, which is the primary basis of the app, you have the community, you have the support, and you have the education, which is filtered through all the stuff that we know of, then that's how the app starts. That's the journey it takes you on. It's for the community itself, for you to be able to access all of that data.
I'm really glad you mentioned communities. When we're talking about longevity, there are, of course, organs that we want to be preserving, keeping healthy for us to live a long and healthy life when we're thinking about, obviously, heart, lungs, and brain. But Our legs are surprisingly important when it comes to living a long and healthy life, and that's so we can walk somewhere, we can go to the store, we can visit a friend, and we have this social connection, because that comes back to my why. I want to be a happy, healthy mother and maybe one day grandmother. I want to be part of a village, however that looks. And when you think about the village that you've built with Seba and how that ties into longevity, how it helps people feeling seen and belonging in a city that maybe they've lived here 2 weeks and they can't find their people. Maybe they've lived here 20 years, but friends are leaving, or they're feeling disconnected to the people that they're friends with now because their values have changed. How much of a why is that for you when it comes to seeing people come together and feeling like they belong?
It makes me so happy, to be honest. But this is also on every person who is serving others. Like every therapist, every yoga teacher, every holistic expert needs to, I believe, intend to focus on building their own community, not with a business, intention and a drive, but it is incredibly important that people come to a class and see a similar face, because their friends maybe or families are never coming. They don't have that hobby, let's say. And they come and they say, let's grab that coffee together after. And that's it. That's what everybody needs, because it comes back to what Tracy said. You need that support. It's showing up to yoga every day is a lot of work also, right? It's not less than meditation, or showing up for food every day. That no, I'm gonna eat kind of a plant forward diet today. So you need those similar faces and coming together, and then it's new friends. Because otherwise, who does people have? If it's not the family, then it's the colleagues. Are colleagues really your friends? No, you are acting friendly, but they're not really your friends. But the moment you change your job, they may not stay in your life. Let's be honest, because you're around, again, a vision and a mission there. But this kind of, let's say, wellness or spiritual connections, they sometimes stay forever, because you're sharing something completely different, deeper.
Yeah, you embark on a journey of wellness or self-optimization or growth, whatever you want to call it, a lot of times on your own. And most of the time, people around you don't understand it, and they don't support you, and they either think you're boring, or they think you're changed, you're different, they judge you. When I changed how I eat, even my husband was like, well, what are you doing? Like when we need to relax about it. And you do sometimes walk in alone. I get a lot of people joining my program saying, I don't know if I can do it because nobody in my family is doing it. That is why the community is important. Like you said, you walk into a space. For me, it's the untraceable blueprint. For you, it's your community, where you meet these people. You talk to them all the time. You do meetups. You go to certain places. So you have other people that understand your goal and help you on it, right? Because it's hard to do things alone. And it would be amazing to get your family to do it. But the biggest lesson that I tell my community members is, lead by example, don't preach by example. It's very enticing to tell everybody what to do when you think you know it all. I've been there, trust me. I was like forcing all of my friends, you have to do this, you have to do this. Nobody would listen to me. And as soon as I have become a better person in my body and my mind and my judgment, they gravitate towards you.
No one likes to be lectured. And it would be lovely if your, self-awareness and the choices you make intersected with those around you at exactly the same time. And that's not going to happen. So it is a choice. It's a choice to turn towards people who can help you, who you can learn
And they'll
from.
come to you at the right time for them as well. Sometimes it's not the right time.
And it's interesting to think about where that shows up. So it might be online, it might be a physical space, it might be through connecting with experts, but it is a decision to get out of your apartment, to find the friends, to find the information, to turn towards it, because ultimately it is through those connections that we grow. I wanted to ask you lastly, if there's anything we haven't touched on when we think about whether it's mental space or physical space that everyone watching and listening today could action in a really accessible way, whether it's through science-backed research and medical and what we've learned about the holistic community that you've built. If you could wave a magic wand over everyone today, what would you wish for them, Eda, that they could be taking from your learnings over the years?
To be honest, chanting and humming is so easy. People like to sing. I always tell them, if you are not finding time or the encouragement to do anything when you're in the car, instead of putting a song, maybe put a mantra and start chanting, and that's going to help you in time. Because sound is very powerful. Humming is incredibly powerful for the nervous system. And nobody is able to see that or suggest that yet. So I'm like, if you don't have time, just chance it when you're driving.
And then Vishani, you've got so many different experts with you and under you at Wealth. And I wondered what you've learned from them, and obviously through your own work anecdotally with clients and through your own teachings and daily practices that you would love everyone to really benefit from.
Yes, I think the whole purpose of creating wealth was that how do we make people live healthy and longer. Like what you were mentioning earlier, there are certain things that you need to measure. Only then you will understand how the progress is, and that really motivates people. And I think that's what we are also looking at when people come to us. We need to evaluate what is happening inside the body. So a bit of the blood works really helps. We have something called an oligo scan, which scans your palm and gives you. So a lot of these things which we combine together, and then we make it like, okay, is this a functional medicine that's going to help this person? Is it an Ayurveda? Is it a homeopathy? So, designing that and then making sure that people over a period of time can see those changes. Because you can only motivate people when they see positive results. Even for us, there's a community where we have, our people who have registered for diabetes, chronic diabetic condition. And we have like the 6 months and 1 year program. So a community really helps, because when you see your colleagues who have also registered in this, after 3 months, their HbA1c is coming down. You're like, oh, wow, even I can do it. So that has actually motivated. We started with like 10 people, and now we have more than 400 people who have registered for the program. Because again, that's how do you really help these people? Not by just giving them medications or but it's mostly a lifestyle modification. And the why is very important. I think every one of us should ask, whenever you're getting into something, why am I doing this? It's not like you're just being pushed into something. But once they start understanding the answer for that why, I think it's very important for people to get into these things.
And Tracy, with all of the work, the experts you've interviewed on the podcast, and I'm a firm believer you can learn from absolutely everyone that you meet. And I'm sure from the community that information flows both ways to you as well. But if I gave you the magic wand and everyone watching and listening today could make one small change to their daily practice, to their life at large, what do you think we could all really benefit from?
Have the mindset or the bigger why that's think big picture. What is the bigger picture? Why are you making the decision now? And how can that benefit future you? I said this quite a lot in the past, that we're all so worried about 12-year-old you, but nobody's really thinking about 80-year-old you. What can you do in your training? How can you eat? How can you move? How could you live? How could you work on your loneliness and your friendships to cater to 80-year-old you to be well and happy, in good form and good physique and good health? It's not about what you want today. I want to eat ice cream every day. It's about, what does 80-year-old me appreciate me doing today? That 80% of the time, that will make her happy, calm, zen, wise, interesting, instead of bitter, old, crippled, not able to stand up without a cane. These decisions are all done today. So if there's anything I could tell anyone, it's think big picture.
I love that. Guys, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure to think about the spaces we create in our own minds, in our own online communities, and of course in the physical spaces when it comes to the longevity, healing, wellness mindset, that there are some things that are within our control. I feel like today really has showed that wellness by design, by intention, is real. The light, air, sound, scent, layouts that work can change how we feel each and every day. So thank you to Tracy, Dr. Shani, and Dada. This is Beyond the Surface, and we'll see you next time.